Welcome to the Quantum Guide Show, where you will find interesting guests and discussions about cutting-edge topics to assist you on your journey. The Quantum Guide Show is ideally suited to the newly awakened and for those who feel isolated by their newfound beliefs. The mind, body, and spirit thrive when we have a mission, and there is no greater mission than to become the change that we wish to see in the world. So hit the like button, subscribe to my YouTube, Odyssey, and Telegram channels, and share this show with your friends. Welcome back to the Quantum Guide Show. Today in episode 88, I am pleased to bring back, as a returning guest, Susan Walter. Susan is an intuitive visionary artist, and after some near-death experiences as a child, Susan was given the ability to see into the angelic realms, allowing her to see the angels in their pure light form. She uses this ability to draw commissioned angel portraits and to relay messages and insights from your angels. Susan is also the artist and author of the Solfeggio Mandala Activation Guides and Meditation Decks, assisting us to realign with our original blueprint. She also creates healing art with a conscious heart from her visions during meditation. This is her way of connecting with the divine and to assist humanity to do the same, and to recognize the divine within ourselves and each other. Your angel is waiting to talk to you. You can find Susan Walter at her website, www.susanwalterart.com, and the links will be in the description below. Thank you very much in advance for sharing this show with your family and your friends. So Susan, welcome back to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, and it's so good to see you again.
Oh, it's so good to see you too. I just love my kindred spirit friends, and I'm so grateful to this show because I've been able to make so many new friends. It's really, really been a huge blessing. And I notice you have some of your beautiful art on the mantle behind you. Do you want to just talk a little
Sure.
bit about that before we get into your near-death experience?
Yeah, this is some of the pieces that, as you mentioned, things I see in meditation. I am often taken to, and to this temple is the best way I can describe it. And there's just all these images on the walls, and I'm trying to like recreate the best I can, those images that I see in this temple. And and it's like it's an ancient temple is all I can say. And it's like some of the images have been painted over, and sometimes the paint is cracking in places and been touched up, and sometimes not with seems like they're not the same type of paint. So there's all these, different layers of, of texture in them that, that look like, sand and dirt, and, not always not always cleaned even in between, repainting. And so just trying to kind of recreate what I see and feel in that temple.
Oh, it's wonderful. I love your art. I really encourage everyone to go to your website and check out your amazing work, and also all the images of the angels. Just so beautiful and very a kind of uplifting to the spirit is how I find the art that you do. And I understand that this sort of all stems from your near-death experience. Is that true, or did it happen, or were you able to do this before?
No, my near-death experiences were at a very young age, 4 and 6.
Oh, so
Um,
you've had more than one. Excellent.
yeah, I had 2 different ones, though they were pretty much the same, or I should say very similar.
Mm-hmm.
Where the first one, and I remember laying on the couch in the farmhouse that I grew up in, and having this blanket on top of me that was just so heavy that I couldn't move. And this is the one when I was 4, and at the time the doctor still came to the house. So the doctor came, checked on me, and my parents went to the next room with the doctor to discuss how they were going to get me to the hospital and which hospital I was going to go to, if I was going to go to the University of Iowa or to our local hospital. And I remember seeing this conversation, but I was like up in the corner in the ceiling looking down at them. And the next thing I remember, I'm in this totally different place in this, a park is the best way I could describe it. But the trees were bigger than anything I had ever seen before at that time. And now, I would equate them to the size of the redwoods. And there was these 3 beings waiting under this one tree, and they were waiting for me. And it's like, and they were probably 15, 18 feet tall, and even they couldn't reach the branches on on the trees. But there were like wildflowers everywhere. And there was just like little animals running on all over the place. And as I said, I grew up on a farm, and I was notorious for, if there was a nest of baby mice or snakes or rabbits or whatever, I would find them and I would just gently play with them, and I put them back where I found them. And so I had a real connection at the time, to the animals. So one of the first things I remember in the first experience anyway, was them asking me if I wanted to see the world through the eyes of the animals. And I just seemed to kind of jump from animal to animal. And that went on throughout, where I was, transported to the hospital and then went through life-saving surgery.
Did you have a sense of timelessness during your near-death experience, or was there any distortion where time was different than the real time? What's your take on that?
I don't remember any relationship to time at all.
You're pretty young. You were 4 at that time.
Yeah.
And what
So
about the beings? Did they look like us, or did they look different?
no. It was very obvious to me that, and how I knew this, but I just did. They were not only angels, but they were like my angels that were with me. And the way I saw them in that experience is still how I draw them today. With no faces, but these bodies that they don't seem to really even have hands and feet the way we do, but their energy or their light is extended, like it's like their whole body is just covered in light. And it's like what we think of as wings, that's what's unique to each individual angel. It's like, it's even part of their energy pattern, because being made of light doesn't need wings. I think that is kind of more our interpretation to help us, kind of understand what they are and how they appear.
Right. We're also fairly influenced by medieval iconography, where it portrays the angels usually as male or unisex with these huge feathered wings. And I myself have had an angelic encounter, and I saw them quite clearly as being points of light similar to the stars at night, except there was light flashing out the sides that gave sort of an image or appearance of wings. So I think maybe we're interpreting the data with our own consciousness, and then we're creating the images that best closest represent something that is very difficult to define or even describe, because we don't see it every day in our human experience. And I'm wondering if you would agree with that.
Oh, definitely. And it's like we try to put it in the in human understanding, and that we like to have everything in our nice, neat little boxes, and and where we name everything and we understand it. It's like, so that kind of works to an extent, but I think as humanity continues to grow, we'll understand, I think, more and more all the time. So,
I would
we
agree
understand
with you.
more, we understand more about them now than we did, like in those medieval paintings.
Well, yeah, we're not as much under the thumb of the church. I'm not saying that, I'm not meaning to say there's any good or bad about religion. That's not my point. But, we were very heavily programmed by church and state. And just in the last, I would say 50 years, things are really changing and people are starting, their awareness is really becoming, I think, more abundant. So, is there anything else you want to tell us about when you were 4? Did you get a divine message, direction, or was it basically just them letting you know that they were there and they're on your team?
Yeah, that's mostly what it was about, I think, and kind of occupying my time while my physical body was going through, something very, extremely painful and
And traumatic.
and very traumatic.
How
Yeah,
long? Sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
because one of the things that happened is, I'm not sure if it was a result of the first illness or if the second. What happened was, I had a lot of kidney and bladder issues growing up, and I actually did, and several hernias, and both of these occasions were I had the hernias ruptured. So something very painful, a lot of infection in the body that had so there was a lot, quite the healing process from both of these. But so I think they were sheltering me, I think, a great deal from the pain of the experience.
Oh, that's incredibly inspiring to know, because often when we're suffering, we feel like we're all alone, and we're really not all alone at all. And so your angels wanted you to know that they were with you and distract you. And how long were you in hospital for before you're able to come home and have some sense of normalcy?
I think I was in the hospital, the nearest I can understand, is probably about 5 or 6 days. And then I still, went through quite a bit of recovery. I do, oddly enough, I still remember, because the incision was from hip to hip, what's now called the bikini cut. And I remember little balls being on the ends on the string. And I remember those balls falling off one time. And I was, very worried about, losing them for some strange reason, because, I didn't understand fully what they were as a kid.
Yeah, of course. And then you had another health crisis 2 years later, is that right?
Yeah, caused by the same thing, another ruptured hernia. But and I don't remember anything about the leading up to it. I think they took me out very, very quickly this time. But I do remember more details of the second experience. And one of the first things is because, by then I was going to Sunday school on a regular basis. So I was raised Lutheran Missouri Synod. That, and I remember asking questions in Sunday school and kind of, the questions didn't go over well. But that was one of the first things I did, is I had all kinds of questions about what they were teaching me in Sunday school. I don't remember all of the questions I asked. The one I remember the most vividly is asking how long God's day was. Because from the first experience, I was kind of got a glimpse of some things that I just couldn't wrap my head around. But I, seeing, I just could not imagine that something as big and bright and as intense as what we call God or Creator that their day was the same as ours. It just, I just didn't make sense to me for some reason. So that was one of the main questions I asked.
So you asked that of your Sunday school teacher?
I ask it of the Sunday school teacher all the time, and
What
yeah,
did they
and then
say? Do you remember what they said?
it didn't go over well. I remember sometimes
Mm.
being told to go sit with my parents. You know,
Oh, dear.
those felt like sometimes I felt like I got kicked out of Sunday school for it. But I just, yeah, and then later on they would just, oh, you need to talk to your parents about that later.
Mhm.
Or we don't know the answer to that. We'll ask the minister, and of course, there was never an answer.
Mhm.
But
Was
I
that,
also,
sorry,
yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I was gonna say, was that, I'm not familiar with that religion. Is it sort of a fundamentalist type religion where they interpret the scriptures quite literally? Or,
Um, mhm. Yeah, they
yeah.
do, and it's pretty much take the Catholic religion and just take away all the pretty stuff.
Mhm.
And and the incense and stuff. There's still candles, yeah, and still the candle that burns all the time, just like in the Catholic Church, but no incense. All the beautiful images and statuary that does not exist. Churches are very, very simple and very, very plain.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and and a lot of people believe that it's kind of more goes back to Martin Luther, who started the Lutheran religion. That's closer to his original teachings.
Mhm. Mhm. That's really interesting. So you tried to get more information and you just kind of got stonewalled, it sounds like.
Yeah, and I just I had a lot of questions. So just like asking stuff about the different lessons I'd been taught about Jesus raising from the dead after 3 days, and trying to understand that better. And
Mhm.
because by that time I had been to a couple of funerals and had seen the bodies in the casket, and it's like, ooh, that come back to life, that would be gross.
Mhm. Mhm.
I just didn't understand that. And I think many of us now understand that that's really was part of their faith at that time. And it was a ritual of, going within for 3 days, where
Mhm.
they went into into seclusion and very deep meditation. And that was really probably much closer to, what happened. And I think
Mhm.
probably also very similar to what happened with Lazarus,
Mhm.
going through that same ritual.
Mhm. Yeah, it's very interesting. So, do you remember any of the what I'll call visuals, which
Mhm.
are internal visuals when you were having that near-death experience? Is there anything that was a bit different, or was it exactly the same as the first time?
After the questions, they did it, again, have me go through and seeing, through the eyes of the animals again. But I remember that, and it seems like I experienced more animals this time, where even at one, eventually I'm not even on the land anymore. I'm swimming,
Mm-hmm.
and feel like I'm in, this, massive being. Um, I suspect it was probably a blue whale, but I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
But then all of a sudden, I'm not swimming in the water anymore. I'm actually swimming in space, swimming among the stars.
Oh, wow. Wouldn't that be spectacular?
Yeah. Um, and it was just, I remember just feeling, being very comfortable with it, almost feeling like I was, home in a different way than I'd ever been before. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Very comforting and very reassuring, and very, just felt very natural.
Mm-hmm.
And then I see that, what I would call, God, the divine, the creator. And it's like, there's this exhale almost taking place. There's this massive energy coming from the creator. And it's like all of a sudden, there's all these souls there. And then there's a part of it where I almost recognize myself. in that.
Mhm.
And it's like me and two other beings, or yeah, first, yeah, it's like we're all going to the angelic realm.
Mhm.
But there seems to be a number of different beings almost like waiting
Mhm.
for some of the souls. And me and two others are pulled aside by this one angel, I guess it is, one being, and we're asked to become planet creators. I'm still kind of wrapping my head around fully what that means.
Mhm.
But it has a lot to do with the mandalas and the solfeggio work that I do now.
Mhm.
But yes, like we're shown on these, like, a glass pad is the closest description I can say. It's
Mhm.
like take a computer screen, but make it be just a glass pad that you touch. It's all, and that's like we're shown what it's going to be like if we do become these
Mhm.
planet creators, and what it's going to be like if we do not. I don't remember a lot of the details from that, but I remember agreeing to do this. I remember the other two did not. But I did, but then I was still taken into the angelic realms. But it's like I went to a specific training program, a specific school, and trained how to do what they were asking me to do.
Mhm.
Um, I just remember that being very intense. Yeah, and in one way it felt like it happened like that,
Mhm.
but yet in another way it felt like it took thousands of years. Yeah, it's like time was all messed up and it had nothing to do with what we think of as time today on this,
Mhm.
in these 3D realities. But yeah, so and then there was a change where I then moved out of the angelic realms and was shown, I remember being shown different solar systems, different galaxies. Um, and just, and first, kind of that swimming sensation again, where I was swimming in the stars. And then all of a sudden, I remember being back in the hospital room, actually in my physical body, and just kind of laying there for a little bit and just kind of trying to, understand even where I was now. Because
Mhm.
and then looking over, and one of my grandmothers was sitting at my bedside, and she was looking, National Geographic was, I remember she had a huge collection of them, and she read them cover to cover. But the one
Mhm.
she happened to be reading at that particular time was the one that had the Giza Plateau on the front.
Mhm.
And and she didn't even know I was awake yet. And I'm asking her, well, where's the rest of them? Asking where's the rest of the pyramids? Because in my mind, there's more of them. But how and why I knew that, I do not know. But I knew there were more. And it just here been in the last few years, they've discovered the foundations, the
Mhm.
remains of more pyramids on the plateau.
Mhm. Yeah, it's uncanny how it works. I just want to mention, not to compete with your experience, but to kind of complement it, that I've had some very similar experiences. I've had experiences of while I'm asleep at night being taken etherically to a place where I interact with these very advanced beings. Well, they're actually our next stage of evolution. So I didn't identify them as angels per se. I sort of identified them more as extraterrestrial. But where we come, where your experience and my experience are so similar, is that glass tablet where we got information. And it didn't have any dials or buttons or anything. It just basically looked like a piece of glass, about the size of a tablet, or a little bit smaller, but bigger than a cell phone. And that was what I used. I used for training. And then the other thought that I had about you and the animals, maybe you experiencing what it's like, or being of a different species, meaning the animals, one several different kinds. Maybe that was your training to help you to become a world creator. And why wouldn't you become a world creator? Reality is a very big place. Consciousness is a very a mind-bogglingly huge experience. So it kind of really makes sense to me, how it all sort of ties together. I don't mean to take over your
Oh,
experience and
no.
interpret it. I'm just saying that's sort of what came up for me. And I wonder if you want to add anything to that, because I know your experience is not the same as mine, but boy, there's sure some similarities.
Yeah, and I know the more I understand about the angels, yeah, in some ways they do almost fit into the description of ETs, because they're like multi-dimensional beings. They exist in a different frequency or different dimension than we do, but they're not any less real. It's like they're not as solid as we think ourselves to be, though. As we understand more and more about science, we figured out that even an atom is 99% air, 99%
Empty
nothing.
space. Yeah,
It's just space. So really what we even think of as solid is not really as solid as we think it is.
And I would add to that the whole science of cymatics, where they play frequencies and it causes inanimate or inorganic matter. Well, I don't know if it's inorganic, but could be anything. Could be water, could be salt on a table, on a platform, and how it creates these shapes. So we're now starting to really understand how, like Tesla said, everything is frequency. And it's even the frequency that creates us and makes us what we perceive as three-dimensional. So it's really interesting, the kind of stuff that's coming out now that sort of adds more flavor and texture to our experiences, but certainly validates our experiences.
Yeah, and I know Tesla said if we understood 3, 6, and 9, we'd understand the universe. And that's what this aphasia are all, when you add them up, they're all like 3-digit numbers that always add up to 3, 6, or 9. And it's, this information goes back centuries, actually. Even Plato understood it. It's technical from our understanding based on Pythagorean math, but quite frankly, I think it's actually much more ancient than that. Because an atom is an atom. It's all what frequency it's vibrating at, what speed it's vibrating at. That all relates to these frequencies and how important they really are. And you get into some of the ancient texts and things and teachings from India to the Native American Indians, and several others. They speak about our universe being sung into existence. That's frequency.
Exactly.
So, makes you even wonder, the word that is spoken about in the Bible, was it a word or was it a frequency?
Oh, I 100% believe that. And even the ancient, I guess, Jewish religion, the word for God or Yahweh or Jehovah or whatever, how you want to interpret it, actually meant the creation of reality through sound and frequency. And it was seen more as a feminine or divine female rather than a hardline masculine way of being. So I think it's in almost every cultural background when you go back far enough. The truth has always been there, and I don't mean to say that I'm speaking absolute truth and other people aren't. I don't mean it that way, but the truth has been there for a long time to be discovered. And it's just the other thing I wanted to say, just to throw in there, is the last 2 or 3 years have been incredibly stressful for most people here on Earth, but there's never been a better time or circumstance to wake people up. And now they're being filled with what I would call divine knowledge, understanding, everything you've talked about to me is also divine knowledge. And there's a lot of doom and gloom out there, but I think there's also a lot of reason for hope and for faith and for
Oh, I agree.
expecting good things, not just for us, but for the planet as well. I don't mean to get preachy here. I'm just thought I'd throw that in.
Yeah, I know. Just listening to you speak, one of the things that reminded me of was you go into some of the ancient hieroglyphs, some of the other ancient languages. If you really look at the symbols and the for musician and physician, they are very, and even in our human language, English language, they're very, very similar.
They are.
Yeah, just kind of makes you wonder what the connection truly is there. Yeah, and even now there are some of the hospitals and things that are trying out and using frequency to break up cancer cells and different things, to help heal the body. The frequency that is known as 528 hertz is known as not only the frequency of divine love, but being able to heal DNA. So if we can truly heal our DNA strands with this, that's just mind-boggling. To think that we could reactivate what's been called junk DNA, and which is really just DNA that's been turned off. If we could reactivate that, how many more skills and senses and capabilities would we have? How much more intelligent could we possibly be?
I agree. Do you believe that there are forces on the planet at this time, or perhaps even in history, that want to shut that down so that we stay in a system of kind of a matrix system where we're, I don't know, for lack of a better word, controlled?
Many of us have now discovered that the world is not what we thought it was, and global events have left many feeling unsettled and even isolated. Karen Holton offers vital services that may be just what you need as she supports your journey into the weird and wonderful. Karen offers awakening support and ascension consultation to support individuals on their journey. For more details, check out her various vital services. Once you find your way through this process, there are many blessings on the other side. Visit Karen's website, KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com, to get started today.
Yes, I do, but I also believe that there have been forces here to help wake us up and bring that back. And I think that's a lot of what's taking place on our planet right now is, with the people getting information when, sometimes some people call it download, some people call it channeling. It is reawakening that and information that is our birthright.
Yes.
That has just been, in some cases used against us, by reversing the energy, and information, or, just twisting it, and being hidden from us. But I think it's a lot of that is coming back now and is being revealed to us in many, many different ways. And I am, my hope is, for the future is that, that will just continue, and more of that information will be revealed. And it's to, how powerful we truly are.
And that was another question I was going to ask you. Do you believe that only a select few have this ability and potential, or do you think we all have this potential?
I think we all do. We might all, there might be some that have different skill sets still. But and different passions. Because even say, just to use sports for an example, even Michael Jordan, he was passionate enough about basketball to practice and become good. And we're all going to be passionate about different things, and being more interested in studying and learning about different things. I think that, we all have these capabilities. It's our natural birthright.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. So after your two, was there anything else you wanted to add about the second near-death experience before I ask you another question?
Yeah, and to be honest, I didn't really notice it so much. I remember after the first one, I sensed, the angelic support around me. But after the second one, I did, that's when I could see them all the time. It's like, and I still do. I've just learned how to, I guess, what I think of as turning the volume down, where I don't see them in full form all the time, but they are still present. And they're present for everyone. So if you're not already talking to your angels and asking them for help, please do. They're friends. You've planned out your lifetime in between your lifetimes. That's who you sit down with and plan and figure out, what you want to experience, what you want to learn. You're only going to do that with trusted friends. So talk to them and interact with them like they are.
Yeah, I would agree. And my guides, because it's not just ETs, I've also had angelic experience. I've had a lot of really neat stuff happen that I can't really fully explain. And I don't really even expect people to 100% believe me, because until they've had their own experiences, it kind of sometimes is hard to believe, especially, in this construct that we live in. But what the information I get is that there is so much assistance available, but we need to ask. We need to invite that into our lives. And I'm wondering if you want to add your perspective on that.
Yeah, it's like asking as a way of giving permission, because they cannot interfere, but they can assist if you ask for help. If you're not sure, start with what we think of as be little things, asking for a good parking space, green lights, anything like that. Because really it's all about moving energy. And time, what we think of as timing, and putting people in the right time at the right, in the right place. Because even if you're asking for a new career, a new position, it's all about right timing. Is that position available yet? Is say the person has in that position now, they're talking and thinking about retiring, but they're not quite ready to yet, or they're thinking about leaving and moving to a different position themselves, but they're not ready yet. Or it's a brand new position and it's not even fully created yet. But that can be said too for the parking space. That little old lady that needs that space more than you do hasn't moved out of it yet. So sometimes like, oh gee, I realized I go back for the grocery list because you forgot to, see, or whatever. So you go back in the house and you're delayed 2 minutes, but then you get there and
it's perfect.
Ends up being perfect timing.
My family, we do a thing where we don't, I never thought of it as an invoking an angel, but we call the parking goddess Mrs. Bernstein. And so whenever we're coming up to the mall or an event or someplace where we need parking, we always go, Mrs. Bernstein, can we please have a parking spot? And it works every single time. Sometimes even better than I don't mind walking a block or so, but sometimes it's like right out front the door. Someone pulls out just as we go by. It's like perfect timing, and it always blows us away. We affectionately call that whatever it is as being Mrs. Bernstein. So you'll see everybody in our family when we're looking for a parking spot, we evoke. Evoke or invoke. I'm not sure what's the right word, but Mrs. Bernstein. The other thing I wanted to say, and I'm interested to see your perspective on it, is often what I had happen to me is because my paranormal experiences were sometimes even outrageously wild, and I had all these experiences. When I would meditate and connect with some of these beings or energies, I would often ask for proof. And the reason was because I kind of thought I was crazy, because that was kind of what I was getting mirrored from other people. Oh, yeah, that's Karen. She's crazy. She always thinks she has these experiences. So I, for a long time, asked for proof. So I'd ask, make contact and then ask for proof, or ask for something and then ask for proof. And I can't believe every single time it got to the point where it was ridiculous, and I stopped asking for proof because it was just, to me, kind of a waste of energy that could be going into something else. I wonder if you have any thoughts on that, Susan.
Yeah. Particularly, they've shown me that they do numbers a lot with me.
Mhm.
But showing me different things. But I've also gotten messages, like, how like when I'm cleaning the house and I got music in the background, but yet I'm not paying a darn bit of attention to it. And all of a sudden I catch a phrase and it's like, but there's a message or a confirmation in some way, in that, or when I first get in the car and turn on the radio. Yeah, they work in very unusual ways, but and I've had people, random people, sometimes people I don't even know, just come up to me and start telling me stuff. And it's something, exact same thing I just heard from 2 other people already within the last few days. But it's a message or confirmation that I needed.
The synchronicities, it seems like the synchronicities are part of that proof or evidence that what we're experiencing is real. And yeah, it can be pretty interesting. It makes for a very, very interesting life as well. I'm a real oddball. No wonder people think I'm nuts sometimes, because I talk to plants, I talk to animals, I talk to bugs. I communicate with all the life that's all around me, actually even crystals. And but and they say that it's okay to ask, but if you get answers, then you're crazy. But no, I get answers all the time. And so that's what I always encourage people to do, is to ask for proof. Say, am I crazy, or is this real? Or, if you're really there for me, I want to interact with you, but I feel stupid asking. And can you just give me some kind of a, I don't know, confirmation? And it happens. And so I always tell people, ask for proof, ask for confirmation, ask for to help us to recognize that confirmation, because there's a lot going on all the time. It's just whether or not we pick up on it sometimes.
Or take the time to notice.
There's that
subtle,
too. Yeah.
Those little subtle things. But it's like, I don't understand why, when people, they ask God, what they for help and answers and things all the time, but yet when they get it, it's like they then they boo-hoo it. It's like, I just don't understand that. It's like, they just, you think you're crazy if you think you get an answer from God. It's like, well, why? If God's truly has all the answers and is in all places at all times, why couldn't he answer?
Exactly. And the other thing is, there's a lot of people who go to church, and I'm not putting anybody down for going to church or being part of a religion. If it works for you, that's fantastic. It's a great platform for stepping off to some of these other more metaphysical experiences. But it's interesting to see how people, oh yeah, I have faith in God. Oh yeah, I believe in this, that, and the other. But then when it comes time to rely on that faith and trust that it's going to be okay, then there's something missing there. And I can't remember who said it. Might have been Mahatma Gandhi, who said, if you believe in God, then there's no need to worry about anything. And if you're worrying, then maybe you don't really have faith in God. I don't know. I'm not saying people do or don't. I'm just saying that that's a sort of famous quote that kind of inspired me, because sometimes I get caught up in worrying about stuff and fretting about things. And then I got to go, well, wait a minute. Come on, Karen, look at these experiences you've had. How can you doubt that that everything is okay and working out into the highest good, not just of me, but of my community and the planet. So yeah, it's that's why I asked for confirmation too. And it just got ridiculous. Like one time I don't know what I was doing. I was out at the mall and I went in to use the washroom. And while I was in there, I went, I'm getting so many of these inspirations. How do I know you're real? How do I know that you're not just my imagination, right? And I just kind of went out of the washroom, picked up my stuff, went to go out the door, and a man was walking in the door when I was walking out. And I looked at him, and all of a sudden, I just got this intense feeling that he was Johnny Cash. Now, I know Johnny Cash had passed away. It couldn't be Johnny Cash, but I couldn't help but exclaim, oh my God, you're Johnny Cash, but you're not Johnny Cash, but you are Johnny Cash. And the guy reached in his pocket, took out a business card and handed it to me. And he was a Johnny Cash impersonator. Now I had never seen this man in my life. I had no way of knowing anything about him. But if that wasn't confirmation, that was kind of the tipping point for me where I went, no, I'm not going to ask for confirmation anymore. It's getting ridiculous. I need to stand on my own 2 feet and accept the faith that I have and the experiences I have as being real, and then motor on from there. So that was, sorry, I didn't mean to take over too much time, but that was just an
no,
example.
You're wonderful. Yeah, and I know a lot of times when I'm talking to people that are new to trusting their experiences and and learning that how to listen and just new to their spiritual journey, I'll tell them to start a proof journal.
Yes.
Actually, when you get impressions, write them down and make sure you put a date there. And and then write down when you get confirmation and stuff, put all that in there. And then go back, at some point, a few months later, go back and start looking and seeing how much how much confirmation you actually got and how correct your intuition you had been, or learning how to use it and how to trust it.
Yes. Yeah, it's a tool.
That's sometimes the hardest part.
I agree. So I'm just wondering if you want to tell us, meaning myself and the viewers, what your different services are. So I know that you do this beautiful artwork that is your representation of what you actually experience in your meditation, but I know there's a lot more that you do. So you also do, tell us, sorry.
Okay. I do still do the angel portraits where I sit with somebody, and it takes about an hour, where I draw your personal angel and get any information they want to pass on to you, though to be honest, they really want to talk to you, not me. But whatever information I get, I will pass on. And the Solfeggio mandalas, there are 9 sets of 9 frequencies, so I have created a mandala for each one of those. So a total of those are 81 mandalas. So I have coloring books and meditation decks with those. And I have started doing what I call soul growth readings with that meditation deck for people. Those take about 30 minutes. So those are offered on my website. There's also prints of the mandalas and of some of the different archangels that I have drawn over the years. And Archaea, which Archaea are the angels that are, people kind of think of archangels as being more masculine, where the Archaea are angels that hold a more feminine energy. They're still androgynous, but they just hold more feminine energy. So I've drawn some of those as well to help us, step more into our sovereignty and our different, balancing our energies. See what else, as well as the acrylic paintings from the meditations that I see. Those are the main three things that I do. I do also do locally here in Kansas City, crystal singing bowl meditation with self-agio frequency, crystal bowls. And I have recorded 2 different sessions in sound booths with those, or in a recording studio.
Fantastic. So would people buy them as MP3s and download them, or?
Yeah, I have CDs, or they are available as MP3s as well.
Oh, you have CDs as well?
Yeah, because there's fewer and fewer people out there all the time that still want the CDs, but I do still have a few of those in stock.
That's great. But really
they
great.
are available as an MP3 as well.
Wonderful. Now, I just want to get back to the mandala card. So I'm just to see if I understand you correctly. There's 9 different decks. Is that right?
Yeah, there's 9 different sets.
And
then there's there's 9, and then 9 in each set.
And 9 in each set. And each one covers it. Oh, beautiful. I'm glad you're showing those. So, and each set covers a specific Cephalgio tone, frequency. Is that right?
Correct. Exactly. And then, so each card will say on it, for example, that it's from the Orion set, that it's frequency from this is 456, and then just a brief what it's about. But then you would get a printed copy of, as well as a little more detail about that. But the information about what each one can help you with it's actually on the website. And I did actually recently put together in a PDF, downloadable PDF, the information from all 81 of them into one document, and that is an offering on the website as well. So if you just want to study what each one is about and what each one does for you.
Oh, it sounds fantastic. And so I'm also understanding that you do take some clients and work with them either from your cards or from your angel impressions, and
and those are, it can be either in person or via Zoom.
Right, on Zoom. Yeah, I find Zoom really effective, actually.
I had never done it until just, the last couple of years hit, and I didn't know if it'd work or not. And it just was the moment I saw somebody's eyes. There's something that I need to be able to see the eyes. Yeah. But once I made that connection, then the angel that, because I let your angels choose which one I'm going to draw. But it was almost instant. Like if I was sitting in the room with you.
Well, I think when we're in the spiritual realms, it sort of overlaps with what we consider our 3D reality. But in those realms, time and space don't operate the same. So I've had remote healings from people who were in a different country, and sometimes they set up an appointment. You're supposed to just lie and rest while they do it. There's a whole huge amount of different ways of doing it, but I find that the distance doesn't hinder anything. Some people work from a photograph, and that seems to work really well. So there's so many ways of doing this. Oh my gosh, we're quickly running out of time. We're not out of time, but we're running out of time. I'm wondering if you want to share either anything else about your near-death experiences, or would you like to share perhaps a message with the viewers of just recommendations, inspiration, anything like that?
I think at this time, with all the stuff that we're going through and all the changes that we're getting ready for on this planet, I think being able to, stand in your own sovereignty and take, is going to be very, very important. Not to trust anyone, particularly some of those authority sources that we have all trusted for so long. We need to do our own research and but take care of yourselves, with better quality food, better quality water, anything like that. But also meditation is going to be one of the most important things, I think, for us to, because meditation it's not only a type of prayer and asking for what we want and what we're wanting to create and manifest, is visualizing it. Because, nothing can exist until we think it or visualize it first. So taking it, but then that's also taking the time to listen for the answers.
So a
And-
lot of people are very distracted. It's easy for me to get distracted. And then I go, oh my gosh, I haven't meditated for a few days and I really need it. And I make time for it. This summer I did something a little different. I would go out on the deck on a comfortable lawn chair and just kind of tap into the sun and accept the healing codes and the things that come from the sun. And I just found it really, really therapeutic. Really, I really felt that I had probably the best summer in years and years since I started doing that. And I know, like in our society, they go, "Oh, don't go out in the sun. You have to put all this sunblock on." And my body just loves the sun, And again, what you were saying, I think, is going within for our internal guru, our internal experts, instead of always looking for external, because we live in a world where everything's commercialized and everything's about making money off of us, transferring the money from our pockets into other people's pockets, maybe don't even need it as much. And but when we can connect and go inside, I find that everything is available. It's almost weird how there is no finite time and space when we go inside. It's unbelievable.
I think it was Gandhi, maybe it was Gandhi, maybe it was, I remember a quote from some guru somewhere that said, the more stressed you are, not only do the more meditation you need, but the longer you need to meditate. But if you can only start out with 5 minutes a day, start there. It's more important that you do it about the same time every day, because that's what helps train the brain to understand this is my time to relax. So start with 5-10 minutes and build up to the hour or to whatever time works for you.
Oh, yes. I find too that once I'm connected, that there is no real time. It's kind of like all of a sudden I pop out of it and I'm back and an hour's gone by. It's like unbelievable, how that all works too. And I agree. Now I'm wondering if there's any particular kind of meditation you recommend, because some of the kinds of meditation out there don't work for me. They're too hard. And they just don't resonate with me. I kind of like the kind where and I'm not saying anything you say is wrong or right. I'm just saying for me, once I can connect, and it requires deep relaxation and a letting go of control, then it takes on a life of its own. But I'm just wondering, what kind of meditation do you recommend, Susan?
And different types of meditation are going to work differently for different people. Some people, walking in nature is what they need. Other people, sitting in that dark, quiet room is exactly what they need. Some people need the guided meditation. Some people, like a music added, particularly not necessarily classic, but something that's, free of vocals. Or getting get more, so do what works for you. That, experiment. And I even found sometimes for me, in the summertime when the weather's good, that walking meditation I really enjoy. But when it's 20 degrees outside, I don't enjoy that. So doing the more quiet meditation works better for me. Sometimes when I'm worried or I'm stressed or I'm freaking out about something, having a musical piece gives me something to focus on to distract me.
Mhm.
So there isn't a wrong way or a right way to meditate. It's what works for you. So
Mhm.
experiment. That's what I recommend.
Yeah, I would agree with you 100%. So it's just making that time every day. And I think that also bounces back to self-love, just like self-care and everything
Mhm.
else. It's a way of creating an environment where we're able to hold the frequency to have some pretty amazing experiences, including healing. One thing meditation has really done for me is because that was the intention I put into that particular, um, um, I guess, ritual of meditation was improved relationships with family members.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
some of my family members, I didn't think I would ever be able to be around them because there's just so much triggering. It's not that anyone's right or anyone's wrong, or this is a good sibling and that's a bad sibling. It's not anything to do with any of that. It's just that many of us, if probably all of us, have been traumatized one way or another, raised in family culture that is not ideal. And so we would just be triggering each other. And what happened over time is I would also visualize us getting, along and everything. What happened over time is there's just less and less triggering to the point where even what I would call my most difficult relatives formerly,
Mhm.
I have peace and harmony with. I mean, I may not believe everything they believe. I may not want to spend, huge quantities of time with them just because we don't share a lot of common interest. But the difference is just huge. And so if we can improve relationships within family, which I think is the kind of the hardest, it's easier to
Yeah.
use patience for a stranger than a family member, right? We can heal our communities. We can heal all the communities of this planet and have some kind of an amazing fresh start. So I'm very encouraged by what you've been talking about on the show today, Susan. I really, really appreciate the work that you do. And but I don't want to cut you off. Is there anything
Oh,
else you want to say in
Um,
closing today?
I think also for the children, us doing meditation is very important because it as being an example to them to be
Yes,
meditating because it helps them be able to understand and control their own emotions. And I
yes.
think that if they get that maturity and understanding at a young age, just think about how much farther ahead they'll be as time goes on. So I think it's very important our children learn to meditate as well. So be an
Um,
example.
Yes, I'm so glad you said that because, as I told you before we came on the show, I just spent a week with my 3-year-old female granddaughters. Well, I shouldn't say female, obviously the granddaughters. And I tried to teach them to meditate. And instead of telling them do this, what I did is just when things got too crazy, I just said, okay, they call me Ning Ning. They don't call me Granny, they call me Ning Ning. And so I said, Ning Ning needs to calm everything down. So I'm just gonna inhale a deep breath, hold it, and let it go. There, Ning Ning feels calmer now. So what happened was after a couple of days, they started doing it too. Hold on, Ning Ning. I just need to breathe in, hold, and let it out. And I was just really surprised at how quickly they started doing that. So I can't
That's
wait to be a little
awesome.
bit older and a little bit less feral to be able to do more with them. So yeah, start the kids young and just be a
Mhm.
good example, instead of do what I'm telling you to do. It's like setting the example and then they copy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been lovely having you back. I'd like to
Yes.
have you back sometime in the new year. And I really encourage everybody to check out Susan. And she's also on Facebook and other social media. But her website is, I would consider, unbeatable because it has everything in one place. And I'll be putting it on the screen here when the video is processed, but also all the links will be in the description below. So really encourage you to check out the beautiful, beautiful work from Susan Walter. Susan, thanks again for being on the show. And thank you, everybody, for joining us, because without you, there is no show. And I appreciate each and every one of you so very much. And
Thank you and blessings, dear.
oh, blessings to you too. And much love and light to everybody. And we'll see you next week on the Quantum Guide Show. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining us on the Quantum Guide Show. Become the change that you wish to see in the world. Subscribe to my YouTube, Odyssey, and Telegram channels. Like this video and share it with your friends. You can also find the Quantum Guide Show and my other podcast called Aliens and Astrology on the Forbidden Knowledge News Network. That's www.forbiddenknowledge.news. And while you're at it, check out my website, www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com, where you will find some amazing products and services and an abundance of free resources to help you with your journey. All of the links are in the description below. And in the meantime, until we see you next week, keep up the good work.
Surrendering to endlessness puts all my inner strife to rest. For time gives birth to hurriedness. It all makes sense, well, more or less. And the sages put me to their test. Heart and soul, I do my best to find the answers to my quest. I wonder and I must confess, I don't